All right. Welcome in to episode I have no idea of the Fit Parent podcast. I'm joined today by Ashley, my client Ashley Cusick. Did I say that right? I feel like I should know how to say your last name.
Yeah, Cusick.
Okay, I said it right. I feel good. Ashley and I have worked together now for, gosh, I should have put the date on this. It's been like 6 months or so, maybe a little bit
Yeah,
longer.
maybe 7 May, I think, was when we started.
Yeah. Um, and Ashley is a mom of three, one older kind of teenager, and then a couple of littles. Um, Works for Amazon, is a bigwig with Amazon.
That's a,
Um,
that's a stretch.
that's not a stretch. I saw you had an award or something like that, and you had to leave it wearing like a light
Well,
up
that doesn't
sweater.
make me like a big
No,
wig.
it's a big. I don't get awards. um, and so working mom, three kids, and we've worked together. So I think Ashley has a super relatable story to a lot of people a lot of moms in particular, but a lot of people. So I wanted to have her on to kind of maybe share a little bit of her story, some of the things that she has tried before, where she was before we started working together, some of the things that she has struggled with, some of the things that she's learned, some of the things that she's hoping to achieve, and just kind of have a conversation with her. And some of this might just end up being you hear a little bit of me coach Ashley, depending on where the conversation goes, as we tend to have our regular check-in calls and what that looks like. So thanks for coming on, Ash. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So I want to start here because I think that this is a little bit of everybody's story, a little bit that you've not everybody's, but a lot of people's story, which is you were always kind of fit through like high school and college, and then when did it sort of shift for you where it started to become maybe a little bit more of a struggle to stick with anything long term and get into some of the things that you started to get into post as you tried to
Yeah.
manage your fitness?
Yeah. So I played sports all growing up and then like all the way through middle school and then kind of switched gears and became a cheerleader in high school. So I was always active. And then in college, I wasn't a huge like exerciser. I would go to our rec center, but it would be brief bursts of like 2 or 3 days and then but lots of walking right in college.
Mm-hmm.
So really never had too much of an issue with my weight.
Or your
Always,
age.
always. Yeah, although I will say, like, even from a young age, like I always was hard on my body, right? Like I
Yeah.
was never fat, but I um, was always comparing myself to those around me and wanted to be like more toned, I guess is
Mm-hmm.
probably but anyway, really like obviously in hindsight, looking back, had no issues with weight. I like should have
Mm-hmm.
been proud of that body. um, and then, graduated college in 2010. So I was 22. Shortly after that, got my first job and it was, I don't know, within a few months of starting that job that I got my first like personal trainer.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great. I think through all the things I've tried over the years, I've learned quite a bit as far as like form and lifting and how to exercise. It's always, my problem's always been sticking with it and consistency, right?
Mm-hmm.
So but yeah, it was definitely like, okay, now I have this desk job. I think I could feel my pants getting tighter
Mm-hmm.
and everything. And so I got a personal trainer at the gym that was like across the street. And yeah, I think everything we talk about today, like everything I've tried in the past, none of it's a knock on that. It was like my mindset around, I want to just lose 5 pounds then.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was 5 or 10, and then
Yeah.
every time I started something new, it was more weight to lose, right?
Yeah.
So but yeah, I think that's kind of where it started, was like right after college, first job. I have a desk job, I can feel the weight kind of coming on. um and I think that's as far as the question, I'm pretty sure I could
Yeah.
keep going, but
Well,
yeah.
yeah. So let's keep within some of the things you've tried. So this was, 10 years basically of different, cycles up and down and around, and different trying things of the fitness roller coaster for you. So what were some of the things that you tried, and maybe why didn't what was some of the results that you saw, and why maybe did those not stick long term for you?
Um, Literally everything. I don't know if there's anything I didn't try when it comes to both nutrition and exercising.
Hmm.
And I've said this to you before. I think that one thing, and we'll probably get there later, but is that I've always wanted to be the person that works out,
Hmm.
or the person that eats right, the person that people look at and are like, she takes care of herself, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was always trying these new things, right? So first thing was I joined the gym, and through that they make you go through the whole process, and I'm like, sure, I'm making money now. So I got a personal, and I lived at home with my parents. I had the money, so, or I had no bills, so got a personal trainer, worked with him for maybe a couple months, maybe a little longer. And then, I mean, as far as fitness, I've done a couple personal trainers. The other time I did that was when I started at Amazon, which was 10 years ago. And my building was in, like, there was a 24-hour fitness at the bottom of my building. And
Hmm.
it's because I'm in sales, it's always been very flexible, as far as like I could go work out on my lunch if I want, or whatever I need. But again, same kind of thing. I think the thing that didn't work with personal training for me was the well, one, I was so sore, right? Like they
Yeah.
kick your booty.
Depending
And
on the coach. Yeah.
yeah, well, at least in my experience, right? And but that was good accountability. But then it was like the eating side, they would give you this like hardcore plan,
Hmm.
that I could never stick with. Like I just didn't have the time, or and it was like whitefish and like things that I didn't weren't really like my what I would eat. And
Hmm.
so anyway, so those didn't work. I've tried Orange Theory. I did Flywheel, which is like a Soul Cycle. I did
Hmm.
that for months. I've done, let's see, Orange Theory. I've tried a couple different like CrossFits. All of these are like, okay, it's Monday, or, it's a
Yeah.
new thing, and I'm starting a new thing, and I'm going to stick with it this time. So you name it. And I've tried just kind of doing my own thing. I had another friend that did like an online thing years ago, that she would give me workouts. But
Hmm.
and she was trying to get her like business going and everything, but her workouts were like overwhelming a little bit.
Hmm.
And, her nutrition plan was very like hardcore, like vegan, like all
Hmm.
kinds of stuff, crazy ingredients that I would have to go buy and
Yeah.
stuff. And so that didn't last. And then on the nutrition side, like I remember in that first job out of college, the first thing I ever did really that was like a nutrition plan was Advocare, like
Hmm.
24-day challenge.
Hmm.
So I have done that a couple times. Saw good like progress with it, but it was just not sustainable to
Hmm.
buy all those supplements and products that come with it, and then the like all or nothing, right? Like never
Yeah.
have you know pizza again or whatever, right? Like it was always, I'm doing this for 24 days and then I'll be where I want, and then I'm going to go back to my life. Like it was
Yeah.
never this long lifestyle. So Advocare, I attempted 75 hard. I mean, you name it, keto, paleo, whole 30, like you name it, I've done it all. So
Yeah. A lot of extreme options where
yes.
you're all in, where you're like,
Yep.
this is gonna be the thing that
Yeah.
does it.
And when I started dating my husband, so this was like 2013, um, he would make comments like these, like this is too hardcore. I'm like, no, it's gonna work, like, and we quickly learned that he's not allowed to comment on my efforts because I would get very mad. And of course,
that's
now
that's
through
just good
working with
marriage
you,
advice. That's
oh
just
yeah,
good marriage advice for
weight
any
loss,
men
say
listening.
nothing.
Don't, yeah, you look great, honey.
You don't need that though.
Yeah.
But it's funny because now through working with you, of course, it's like, wow, what you were saying all along of like balance and just
Hmm.
being consistent. So anyway, but yeah,
But he's
all
not going to say I
extreme.
told you so because he's a smart man.
He knows better than that. Although now it's like I'm trying to get him to do like the things I'm doing,
Yeah.
because like it's funny how it like shifts, but
Hmm. Yeah. So it was always kind of these extreme things, and every time it started to almost get a little bit further away. I feel like I remember you
yes.
saying. So,
Yes.
how did it feel when you would start a new thing? Like, how would you feel when you would start? And then how would it feel like when you fail's a strong word, but
Or
when you
stopping,
fell
giving
off?
up,
Yeah.
quitting or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like the further in this journey, I guess you could call it, that I got, I was probably less and less confident that I would succeed each time.
Hmm.
Like I really loved Orange Theory, but I wasn't also doing nutrition with it. So it's like I was just going and getting my ass kicked, at the
Sorry, I
gym or
just sneezed.
whatever. And it's okay.
It was a weird
Um,
sneeze
Going
cough.
and doing these hardcore workouts, burning, according to my watch, like 500-600 calories.
Hmm.
Um, and then it's like I did that for a while, but then it's like I got to the point where it was like, well, it cost $12 to cancel, and I was starting to cancel. Like if you don't cancel 8 hours
Yeah.
prior, and I was starting to cancel and not care about the $12. I'm like, okay, but yeah, every time I think, and I mean, then I got to a point where I was like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Hmm.
Like, and especially when I had kids and stuff, like I knew that like these extreme, I think subconsciously, I knew these extreme things of like going all in and all or nothing weren't never worked for me. So I stopped doing that, but I wasn't doing anything. I needed this kind of like come to Jesus moment
Hmm.
to figure out how to just make it lifelong. And I think that like having kids also helped with that
Hmm.
because the why and the motivation changed a lot, but behind it all of it becoming that person I want to be. But yeah, I think every time I started trying, it was like I was less and less, like I would fail sooner and sooner. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Or, quit or whatever, give up sooner and sooner on each thing I tried. Like I probably, like the first time I did Advocare, I went the
Hmm.
full 24 days,
Yeah.
and then like every time after, it's like I didn't make it to the whole, another thing, Beachbody. You named the Beachbody program.
Yeah. Like I still remember Tanya from Insanity. Friggin' Tanya was
Oh yeah.
always
Yes.
like you had to be in
She
crazy
was
good
like,
shape
wasn't
to
she a
be able.
modifier?
No,
She was,
well, she
I
was like
remember
she could do
sounds familiar.
anything. Like she could do.
Yeah.
He was like, "We're gonna go over to Tanya." I was like, "Don't go over to Tanya. I don't want to see her
Yeah.
not
No, I think
struggling
I'm thinking
while
of,
I'm dying."
yeah. I think it was T25 and she was
Yeah,
like a moderator. What was the word I'm thinking? Modifier.
modifier.
And I remember being like, she's no modifier.
Yeah,
Like,
she doesn't need to modify. She's a friggin' ridiculous shape. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, friggin' Tanya.
But yeah, tried all those too. But yeah,
Yeah.
and Beachbody that's a good one of like, okay, I'm gonna do 21-day fix, or I'm gonna
Yeah.
do whatever, and I last like a week and a half. Like that's when I was failing even sooner. It was like okay, and then I think at some point I was just like, I think it was probably like after kids, I was like, well, there's no point like between my two kids. It was like, well, I'm because I had that like all
Yeah.
or nothing or like short term mentality. It was like, okay, I'm gonna lose all this weight and then I'm gonna get pregnant again because I know I want another kid. So it was like meh.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
I think that's a common thought, and I just want to insert something here, and then I want to get back to that story because this is a super common thought. And it's a conversation I've had with multiple moms and things like that. Is like, why would I do this in between, or when I know I'm going to
Yeah.
try to get pregnant, or why would I try to even do this? Well, I currently have 3 clients who are pregnant, like in the
Okay. Yeah.
midst, like got pregnant while we were working together, and their original goal was fat loss, and I was like, this is actually as good a time as ever to do this because
Yeah.
one, you start like however much if you have weight that you're trying to lose, right? You start from a lower place versus if you start from a higher place and then you gain pregnancy weight, and then
Yep.
it's a further way to go. Second,
Yep.
you establish habits that you can carry through pregnancy, so you're able to maintain a little bit easier through pregnancy.
Yes.
And third, you're set yourself up so that it's a lot easier to get back to things on the other side of pregnancy, so that it's not as big of a hurdle. So now it's just a matter of doing it. So it's as good a time as any to do it. And
Yeah.
also the things that you do to lose fat. I just said this on the episode that I recorded earlier today. The things that you do to maintain weight are the same things that you do to lose weight. The
Yeah.
only difference is the calories. And so all of those things, protein, fiber, sleep, strength training, cardio, all of those things are also going to help support you in getting pregnant, carrying a baby,
Mm-hmm.
delivering the baby, which is
Mm-hmm.
like a marathon that you don't actually get to train for.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
the fourth trimester where you're literally keeping a baby alive by yourself.
Yep.
So all of this is as good a time as any to do that. I just wanted to insert that because I think that's an important
No, totally. And
conversation.
I think I was starting to kind of get there like subconsciously, because with my first pregnancy, I did work out fairly regularly,
Mm-hmm.
mostly beach body stuff, but it was like the first time I ever was like, I'm just going to turn on a workout. Like, I
Yeah.
don't have to do this 90-day program or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I was kind of getting there. I think that was a little bit of a mental shift of like, I'm doing this for me and health, and
Yeah.
not like to lose X pounds, right? Like, I'm doing this for me and my baby and
Mm-hmm.
everything. So I think I was
Yeah.
starting to kind of have those thoughts
That's
during my
really
first
cool.
pregnancy. It
I
was
don't know if
hard
that.
to get workouts in my second pregnancy because I was very
Well, you had a
sick
baby.
and I had a toddler.
Yeah. But I love that piece of it. So I think that you said a lot of. I want to circle back to the why
Yeah.
in a little bit, because I think that that's
Okay.
an important thing that I think a lot of people will resonate with. But I want to stay here for a second with it. You didn't get quite as far every time, like
Hmm.
because you started to almost like you anticipated the inevitable. I'm gonna not be doing this.
Yeah, like I taught myself that this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
I had already like meant subconsciously like taught myself that even if I lose 10 pounds or whatever right now,
Mm-hmm.
like I think without consciously knowing that, like I knew subconsciously that like, so I think I would fail sooner and sooner.
Your actions told you
Yes.
that this is what it
Yes.
is. Like you had no credibility with yourself.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. I've done it a little bit. Yeah, you had no credibility with yourself. Like you're the story that you told yourself. And so it was never like I'm quitting, right? It was
No,
just
no.
so
It was,
it would just kind of be like life happened and
yeah.
I
And then I never
wasn't
got
able to
back
stick
on it.
with it and I never got
Yes.
back on it because it
Yep.
was usually an extreme thing. So like you couldn't stick with a 6 day a week workout plan because if you missed one day it like threw you off,
Yes. Yes.
or an
Or
extreme
7 days.
diet plan. Yeah,
Yeah.
7 days.
Yeah.
And then also when I had a brain fart, I don't know where I'm going with that. So then the other side of it is so you fall off, right? So you start into it kind of almost expecting the failure
Yeah.
because that's all you'd ever experienced.
And that's, in hindsight, right? But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
you're like, oh, this is going to be different, but you
This is
don't.
going to be it. Yeah.
Um, but you kind of expected that failure because it was all you'd ever experienced. Then it kind of inevitably happens because you're trying to do something a little bit too extreme. How does it feel? How did it feel in the moment? Like there's in the waves of this, right? There's that bottom, for lack of better, rock bottom moment where it's like right before you decide you're going to do another thing, right? So there's the moment I decide I'm going to do the
Mm.
other thing. It's like, all right, this is going to be the
Yes.
time, even though in the back of your mind
Yes.
you're kind of expecting it's not going to work. But the before that moment, which forces you into the like, I got to do something. How did those
Yeah.
moments feel where you were like, I can't believe I'm back here
Mm.
again?
Awful. Awful. I mean, yeah, like a rock bottom moment is probably the best way to put it. I mean, like, sometimes I think of rock bottom as like, strung out on drugs or something,
Mm-hmm.
but like, no, it's like you failed yourself. I think like
Mm-hmm.
you've given up on yourself for the last month, 2 months, whatever it is, 6 months, like, and I need to it's like an epiphany moment almost. Like a lot of times for me it was like I finally got the courage to like get on the scale, and I haven't, because I was always like,
Mm-hmm.
I'll weigh myself like every day when I'm on some
Mm-hmm.
program, right? But I know when I'm off my game when I won't step on the scale. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I like, now I know that. So it's like always, I don't think there's anything. It's like, I don't know, usually probably after a weekend of like, social things, drinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's Sunday scaries, anxiety, whatever. I got work tomorrow. I'm fat. I'm this. And it's like negative self talk. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, finally, like, okay, I'm going to start something. Or, and I've told you this before, like, I've always been like a content consumer of like this type of
Yeah.
stuff. And, like someone's, whether it was Orange Theory or, whatever, I saw someone's results,
Yeah.
and that was really motivating. And
Mm-hmm.
so then whenever I start the new thing, like Orange Theory, for example, I'd be like a psycho on the hashtag, looking at everybody, like hashtag Orange Theory results, and like looking at everybody's results and everything. So, but just a really down feeling, really, yeah, down on myself, and like I need to make a change.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not that different than how I felt before I started working with you, but I was already kind of on the path of like, I want this to be lifelong,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I kind of pulled the trigger with you, right? And
Mm-hmm.
never had with like a, full like coach.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, hope that answers it.
Yeah, for sure. So then one more piece of this, I think, is a week after you realize that you've fallen off, right? And you're like, all right,
Mm.
this, so it's, I'm a week removed, and you've like maybe tried to get one more workout in, and then you're like, this just is, it's like, all right, it's done,
Yeah.
right? And the like moment where the internal voice is, I failed, right? I failed again. And especially in the context of you've seen all the other people's results,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, like at the beginning you start out being like, I'm gonna get that, and
Hmm.
then it fails. How do you feel? How did you feel in those moments where you realized that it, for whatever reason,
Like I failed another thing.
yeah, and it didn't work for you?
I feel like it wasn't such a conscious moment of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't like because I feel like that is the moment of like, yeah, I don't think, because I think like whenever I fall off of like whatever the program is or the Orange Theory thing, um, well, I probably felt less and less um, bad about it the more I did it. Because again, like
Mm-hmm.
to be expected, right? Like the first time I did, a beach body program, I probably made it through, but then, the weight came back and whatever. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to do it again. And then you quit early or whatever. And it's like, and you're kind of like bummed with yourself for that, because it's not like a conscious decision to quit. It's like, I missed a workout and now I can't get my 6 or 7 in for this week. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
have to double up. Okay, I'll double up Saturday, and then it's Saturday and I don't double up. And it's like, well, I guess I'm going to have to start over or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, And then it's like, well, I'm not starting over today. And so, and this is all like quick in your head, like not out loud, right? And so I'm not starting over today. I'll start Monday, and then you don't start Monday. And then, like you let life distractions distract you from like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, I think, yeah, I don't think there's this like whoa moment. It's like, yeah, okay, I missed, or like with like Orange Theory, or one of my like boutique kind of classes where I signed up for like say 12 or 12 classes a month or something, right? And then I only get 10 or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, I'm wasting my money. I better cancel,
Yeah.
that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I'll go back to the drawing board later. But I don't think on the quitting side, there's this big aha moment of like, I failed. It's like naturally just like, I don't know. I think the aha moment is like, months later, when it's like I quit that and I haven't done that in 2 months. I'm just now realizing it's been 2 months, and it's that rock bottom of like, I got to start something again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. For sure. When you think about now, pivoting back to the why, So
Yeah.
because you're right, you came into, when we had our conversation, you were like, okay, I don't want to do what I've always done before. Like that
Yeah.
was kind of one of the first things that she said to me. Like, I've always done this, and I don't. I want this to be a longer term thing, which is easy to say. It's not as easy to quite
Yeah.
live, because
Yeah.
the reason why people dive into those extreme solutions is because they get extreme results.
Right.
And it's somewhat satisfying to lose 12 pounds in 8 weeks or something like that, and be
Yeah.
like, oh well, go me, like, good Tim. And it feels, so it's tougher to like do it, but that it's failed. So I think that you mentioned the driver for you for this being a little bit more of a lifelong thing was some of the shift of that was when you became, so you have an older stepdaughter, and then you have your two
Yeah.
kids. And
Hmm.
so when you became a mom to your two littles
Hmm.
post pregnancy, what about the why shifted for you that made it a little bit more of a longer term vision, where you were
Yeah.
willing to maybe take a little bit of a longer road?
Yeah. I love talking about this, and I've talked with some of my friends about this when I've made some posts on fitness and stuff
Mm-hmm.
since like we've been working together. Um, I think with having kids, and my older son is like an eater, like he
Mm-hmm.
will eat and eat and eat. So I'm like, it's probably unhealthy that I'm worried that he's going to get fat when he's a toddler, and he's just like, you know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
so there's like those moments of like, oh God, don't overeat. And like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, he's a toddler, like it's okay. But so I think that, and then obviously, so that was my first, then my second son was born September 1st of 2022. Obviously I had a C-section, so had some recovery to do. And it was December 3rd that I signed up for a new gym.
Mm-hmm.
And, but it was kind of like this time's different because I I don't want my kids to get to a point in their life where they need, with all due respect, like I want to teach them the things I'm learning from you,
Yeah.
right? I want these things to be second nature, like exercising 3 or 4 times a week. Like I hope they play sports, so that'll be,
Mm-hmm.
fine for their childhood, but like exercising 3 or 4 times a week, getting movement, moving around, like we're not just sitting all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Water, protein, right? Like I want to teach them these things so that they aren't 35 years old, like what happened to me and feeling at rock bottom. Like I want them to,
Mm-hmm.
like I always, for a long time, I compared myself to some of my friends that are a lot thinner than me. And I'm like, when we're together, which is like a social thing, I'm like, we eat the same, we drink the same, we,
Yeah.
and it's like it all kind of clicked that like, well, they probably have like better habits, like the
Yeah.
other 85% of the week or whatever, you know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
though, and those are things that they probably learned like without being like ingrained and taught, but like naturally in their childhood,
Mm-hmm.
like like a couple friend of ours, like just outdoors a lot, go hiking, like
Mm-hmm.
skiing, like they're way more than like I did. And it's not that my parents didn't like care about health and stuff. I just think they only knew what they knew, right? My mom always tried to teach me random like eating things, like, but she was like low fat, and you know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean. So
Yeah.
like, um, my dad was always a great athlete, so he always played like sports growing up, and then through. So like he had a really good base, so they didn't have to like work on it too much.
Mm-hmm.
Neither of my parents were like super overweight or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like I never learned habits, and so once I became an adult and lived on my own, like I didn't have anything, and so I would eat and drink and not work out, and so the weight just kind of like packed on. Plus
Mm-hmm.
these like failures and gain it all back and
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more each time, right? So, but really the why was like when I think I knew this subconsciously, but when working with you, that first thing you had me do where you like keep asking yourself why,
Mm-hmm.
um, like that's where I got is like one, yeah, I want to look better. I want to feel better, right?
Yeah.
Like of course, right? But it was so much deeper than like the thing that made me realize it's lifelong is I need to have these habits so that my kids don't get to the point that I'm at now.
Yeah.
So that was, and I that stuck with me like that because again, with all the programs, I've come up with whys in the past, right?
Yeah.
And this was the first time that it was like meaningful enough. And then, of course, through working with you, I've just learned, just keep swimming, right?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
by no means have I. I mean, it was like week 2, and I twisted my ankle, and I was like, "Can I have my money back? I failed. It's all over." you know,
I do remember that. I remember having to talk you off that ledge,
I cried.
which is not abnormal either.
Yeah,
By the way, I had another client who just started who like the very first week got like pneumonia. She's got like
yeah.
pneumonia and bronchiolitis. She's like, I couldn't have picked a worse time to start working with you. I'm like, this is actually a great time to start working with me because
Oh
you
yeah,
can't
and I
work
had all
out.
those work trips and stuff that
Yeah.
same first month. I was
Like,
like, "What am I doing?"
this is the perfect time to work with a coach
Yeah,
because if you learn
yeah.
to navigate these things, I've told the story about Danielle or Sean, who both had like major injuries, like right at the very beginning of working together, and they couldn't work out. And it's like, okay, so we're going to focus on the things that you can do and make some changes. Yeah, no, I totally get it.
Yeah,
Let's,
I wanted to quit a bunch of times.
there have
You
been
know
a
when
lot
I'm
of
quiet.
times. Yeah, I'm like, Ashley, are you
Ashley,
alive?
Ashley.
Like, tell me what's going on. Um, so I want to dive into this a little bit more because I think that this is super relatable to people because I think that there's the two sides of this, okay? Which is one, like I want to be an example. I want to show my kids
Yeah.
what to do. But then there's also the part of it that I think people almost we can get into the idea that like if that's not the main driver for me, then it's shallow, right? We've had this conversation before
Oh,
of
yeah.
like
Mhm.
it feels a little bit vain to like want it. Like I feel like I need a deeper reason, and that's
Oh, but
there.
yeah, and I wish that I could have come up I'd love to talk about this because I wish I could have come up with a why that resonated enough before I had kids.
Hmm.
Because like when I made a post recently that
Hmm.
I had been working out consistently for a year,
Hmm.
and I got a bunch of like, and I have a private account and everything, but like probably I don't know, dozens, if not 100 likes and
Hmm.
wow, what are you doing? Like really, positive feedback. And a friend of mine I was talking to, and I was like, honestly, like it's been so much more mental than anything. And
Hmm.
I was trying, and I was fumbling with the words because for me, that was a big shift with like the kids and the why. And I was like, I wish I had the words to help her with a why because she doesn't have kids.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So I was like, I'm not a coach. Like that's Jeff's area. But yeah, I would love to because I mean, there is like, I want it for me too.
Yeah.
But the best way I can explain it is like through the kids and everything. But yeah.
Well, so I was looking down. So I have for everybody who's listening, I take notes for during our first call. I take notes fairly regularly, but I pulled out the notes that I took from the very first call that Ashley and I had together when we decided to work together. So this is from 7 months ago. And she said when I pulled them out, she's like, "That was a different person." I was like, "Yeah, it is, but it's still interesting to think back to this person." Um, and one thing I wrote down is I want my kids to be proud. Was one thing that you said to me.
Oh my God. You're gonna stop. I do.
How do you mean?
I just, Jeff, why are you bringing me
I'm
back
sorry.
there? I do. Like, I don't want them to be like embarrassed of me because I'm a lazy whatever, Like,
Hmm.
I want them to be proud. And now, like, see, I do. I want them to be like, my mom's a badass,
Hmm.
like she's got the good job. She takes great care of us. She takes care of herself. Like, I want them to be proud of me. Dang it, Jeff. You said earlier, like before we recorded, he was like, "We're gonna cry today too." I was like, "No, we won't."
I did not on purpose. All I said was what you said. I just repeated back to you what you said seven
Oh
months ago.
God, yeah,
But the idea of like your sons to look at you the way that you always kind of
want to
envisioned
look at me.
yourself as a mom.
Yeah. And just as a person. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I don't remember when, I don't know what the context of this is, but like, it's like your parents, you always look at your parents when you're a kid as a superhero.
Yes.
And it's like, I want to live up to that a little
Yeah.
bit. Like,
Yeah.
not that I'm going to do more than I'm capable of, but like, I want to be worthy of that admiration. Not that you're not worthy if you don't, but like, I want the actions that I do to
There's a quote.
reflect.
Okay, there's a quote, and it's like, oh, I wish I could remember it verbatim, but it's something like, one day your kids are going to figure out who you really are.
Yeah.
Make sure like you're proud of that person, or something, like make sure that you're proud of the person they find out. Like
Yeah.
everybody has this moment where you realize your parents are just humans.
Yeah.
But you want, they're just human beings, perfectly flawed like the rest of us, right?
Hmm.
But for a long time, like into your 20s, at least for me, like you think they can do no wrong.
Yep.
But yeah, there's a quote that's like, I want to find it, but it's like, yeah, one
Or
day your
it's something
kids,
along the lines of like, be the kid, be the be the person your kid thinks you are.
yeah,
Something
yeah, yeah,
along
yeah.
those lines. Like,
Someday your children are going to figure out who you are just like you figured out who your parents are. Be sure you're being that person they will be proud of when they figure you out.
yeah. Jeez. The stakes are high.
Yeah, high stakes. Because we know that feeling when you figure out, and like I love my
Hmm.
parents, right? But like
Hmm.
you know that feeling when you figure out, wait, they're just like figuring out life too.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when you're a kid, you think that they know everything, and then you realize when you become an adult, everybody's moment of realizing this is different. But yeah, you realize they're just people, and so you want to be the person to be that they're proud of. So
Yeah. So let's flesh this person out a little bit more. And we've talked about this. I have notes from before, but like, you've talked about it in the context of your kids, but now for yourself a little bit, right? Like, I know that for you, in the context of your friends, and you have a very tight group of friends, and everybody has different things, and social and all of these contexts, and you go to the lake in the summer, and all of these kind of opportunities to kind of feel the way that you want to feel. So we talked about this back at the beginning. I don't know if you remember this, like Ashley 2.0,
yeah, yeah,
right? On the
yeah.
on the others, like, as we continue to progress forward, right? The new and improved version of you that doesn't worry about going backward, but is there, and there to stay. Who is this person that you are currently on the path to becoming, and what does
Yeah.
she do? What does she wear? How does she feel?
Yeah.
And what of those things have you already seen? Like, kind of some of those
Yeah.
boxes that you've already seen that get checked along the way.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's funny because I always imagine, like, oh, maybe one day I'll be this huge success story and Jeff will have me on his podcast or something. Like, not like a goal or a desire, but like maybe I'll become that before and after that I
Yeah.
look at online, right? And then he'll like want to, brag or whatever. And so like I want to be clear that I have so much work still to do, right? But I've also come like a really long way. And I
Hmm.
think one big difference, and part of this is like from working with you and realizing that so much of this is mental.
Hmm.
I mean, I had when I twisted my ankle and I was like ready to quit, and you were
Hmm.
like, Ashley, working out in the pyramid or in the hierarchy of
Yeah.
weight loss is like going to the gym and strength training is like down there, like calories, protein, water, like there's a lot of things before that we can work on. And that was like a big shift for me. And I've told a bunch of my friends that too, right?
Hmm.
It's like people think that when you want to lose weight, you got a new workout program, right?
Yep.
And it's like, so the fourth, fifth, sixth thing
Yep.
that's the most important. And so, but it makes you feel good. And so it helps with
100%.
momentum. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
The mental piece is huge.
but but yeah, like mentally, I think from where I was before and this like kind of all or nothing person, right? Like
Hmm.
I'm either like it was like I wanted to in one day be that new person,
Yeah.
right? Of the 2.0. Like
Hmm.
my whole like what 22 to 35, so 13 years.
Yeah.
That's every time I tried something new, that's what I tried to do is like
Hmm.
Sunday I'm rock bottom, Monday it's 2.0. Here she
Hmm.
is. Like
Yeah.
absolutely not. In hindsight, was that ever going to happen? But like, that's how I acted. Like, I'm a new
Yeah.
person, or I'm giving up alcohol altogether, or I'm
Mm.
never eating pizza again, or whatever it was. Right. And so, like, I think the biggest thing on of how much I've grown to date and like where I'm heading is one, there is no end day.
Hmm.
Right. Like, I was checking in with you randomly, leaving you Instagram voice notes,
Hmm.
and in talking out loud to myself slash you, I realized like I was like, I just know that like, for example, this week has been so busy. It's December 21st or 2nd today, right? Like, I haven't been great at getting to the gym, but I've
Yeah.
been doing everything else that I can.
Yeah.
And I'm not, the biggest difference is I'm okay. Like I'm not beating myself up that I
Mhm.
missed the gym this week. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like where it's like, oh, okay, well, I missed the gym, so let's order the pizza and get out the wine, and you know what I mean. Like,
Hmm.
so I think it's like it's a weight off that like this is who I'm becoming, and I don't have to. It doesn't have to be this all or nothing thing, and it's a work in progress forever. Not like when we originally talked, it was like, okay, by next summer, here's where I want to be, and that's so changed for me. Like, I don't even care where I am by like June,
Hmm.
because this is more like, okay, what habits will I have like conquered by then? So that I can be working on the next habit. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I hope that answers it. But that's yeah.
I don't know if you realize how wild that is. From what,
It
like,
is. It's a huge shift.
well, because so I'm gonna read you some of the things that were Ashley
Oh God.
2.0. No,
Don't make me
and
cry again.
no, no, no. This is what's so cool is because the things that um
So this is from May.
this is from May. Okay, so Ashley 2.0, right? Confidence, things like that, right? But you were like, I want to wear a bodysuit like all my friends and feel good about it. Go bathing ship shop, go wake surfing behind the boat, not worrying about putting on a cover up when I'm on the boat over the summer. Take more pictures without worrying about if somebody's going to post it, right?
Yeah.
Those were some of the things that you talked about. But then the last things I have these up, the last things you say, I want to take my life back and feel in control of my life and have habits that are sustainable.
Yeah. I'm kind of like there, I feel like, with those.
You that piece of it's huge. And so this is where I think that the flip of it is for you was it was always I become a different person, right?
Yeah.
And it's all about those first category of things. But
Yes.
you've kind of shifted it to like it's I am a different person and I do the things like you said, I'm a worker outer, right?
Yeah.
In one of those voice notes,
I
like
work out. I'm a
I
worker
work
outer.
out, like I'm a regular worker outer. Like I have worked out consistently for a year, which you've
Yeah.
never strung together a year before.
Never in
That
my life.
doesn't mean that you work out all the time, but you're
Yeah. It's
not
not every
worried.
single day or every week is perfect by any means. Like this week is not, but
But you're not worried that you're not going to be able to get back to the gym.
right. Not at all.
This is the idea of like I am like you are mom. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you are flawlessly mom every day, right?
Right.
But you are consistently mom
I'm a
and you
mom,
do
period.
more mom
Yeah.
things and then you become more mom. And
Yeah.
at the end of the byproduct of that being and doing, the more you do the things, the more you become the person who does more of the things. The byproduct of
Yes.
that is you have the results of that person, which in the case of mom is a relationship with your kids. In the case
Yeah.
of working out is feeling healthy and strong and all these kinds of things. In terms of your
Yeah.
nutrition, it's all of that. And so you're seeing the results on the physical side of it, certainly, but you recognize that you're in charge of the process
Yeah.
and not the outcome.
It's not this like, so going back to that question about like when you failed or whatever,
Yeah.
one of the things that's always is like, ugh, I got to start again.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That is completely gone now because it's like, so without you or like a year ago, if I didn't go to the gym, like it's Friday and I haven't been to the gym this week. Like I've been running around like crazy, so my movement's good, but like I haven't been to the gym. And if this was a year ago, I'm maybe considering like canceling my Hot Works membership. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I may be, because I'm a failure, or like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a big shift, is like, and this is what I was telling to you in one of our check-ins, is like I hit my 1 year at Hot Works on December 3rd, and I was like, whoa, like
Mm-hmm.
it's a year of, and not every week is perfect by any means, but like that's a year of me going there, you know. I mean, I can see the calories. Like some months are better than others, but I've been going for a year, and I was like, okay, like check mark. I work out now. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm a worker outer.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I said. And so then it was like, all right, that habit is like there. Like that's not going away. That's what I do now for life, you know? And then
Yeah.
it was like, and it's not, I didn't have 1 year as the mark. It's just that's what made me realize that I
Yeah.
am this person now. And then I was saying, like, okay, now it's like habit stacking, like working out, done. Now it's
Mm-hmm.
like, let's focus on nutrition and, you know, make
Mm-hmm.
sure I'm getting my protein and whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meal planning and all of that has been really helpful for me. But yeah, that was a big, I mean, the mental shift around this not being a temporary thing, and very slowly though, like it's taken me this long of working with you and a year of working out to understand it, you know.
Yeah.
um so but it's great. I mean, yeah, it's a, I feel so much less stressed about everything, but like about my, where I'm going to be, and like, yeah, future, like I'm not so worried about the future as I feel like as I was,
Yeah.
which is really good. um yeah.
Not worried about one interruption is going to throw you off. Like especially this weekend,
Yeah.
right? Like the next
Yeah.
week
Right.
would be an opportunity for disaster. Right? We're recording
Yeah.
this on December
Which is
22nd.
why everyone starts in January.
Yeah, it's because you just like have all right, and then you'd hit rock bottom, and then January 1st, you're like, okay, I'm going to start again. But
Yeah. Yeah.
you said something interesting as well that I want to make sure I highlight. You said you always wondered, like maybe at some point I would see such results that
Oh
then
yeah.
Jeff would have me on his podcast and what. But I think I want you to kind of recognize what the results are. That was the moment where I was like, hey, let's do this.
Yeah. You
It
were like, I want
wasn't
to bottle this up and show people. Yeah.
was when
And
you
it
were
wasn't
sending.
physical.
No, it wasn't like it was never like when you sent me a new scale weigh in.
No.
It was
No.
when you sent me a message that said, this has entirely shifted for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, that right there is Ashley 2.0 because
He's
there's
here.
because Ashley 2.0 is somebody who's not worried about ever falling off. And so like
No.
I know that that you're going to get these other physical things
Yeah,
100%.
they're
Like
gonna
there's
come.
it's not a question whether
Yeah.
it's in the summer or whatever the timeline is, but because you've become the different person and you have these habits and this mindset around it. That's the before and after piece that for me is the victory piece
Yeah.
because and I told you at the very beginning, the goal for me, and I say this to all my clients and it's a very counterintuitive thing. The goal for me as a coach is not to get you to lose the most amount of weight in the shortest amount of time
Right.
because
Right.
you've done
No.
that before.
Yeah, that didn't work.
I
Or it didn't
know
last.
that that's what
Yeah.
you want, but you've done that before.
Yeah.
It's
And
less
it's been
about
slow.
it has been.
But that, I've gained so much more than, like, that's become a, I don't even like, that's like a byproduct to this whole
Yeah.
thing at this point compared to the mental gains I've had, you know.
Mm-hmm.
um I was just at, again, December, miss bunch of friends. I had
Mm-hmm.
a our girlfriend's kind of annual Christmas thing last Sunday, and my one friend was just like, you just seem better, like more at peace. And I'm like, I am, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
she was just like, I can tell, like, I can tell you've been working on yourself, you know? So that was cool. And I had a couple people this weekend tell me, you lost some weight, like you look good.
Mhm.
You know, and that's the first time that's happened. You know,
Mhm.
that had happened in the past with like the
Mhm.
dramatic stuff, but like
Mhm.
since this process, that's
Mhm.
the first time anybody that I don't see regularly is like, okay, I see, like, you know, I see you. And like
Mhm.
a friend of my husband's was like, you look like you lost weight. I'm like, I have a little bit, you know.
Mhm.
And then he was like all proud of me. And then a little while later, he's like, our other buddy noticed too. Like somebody said something to him. So I was like,
Mhm.
people are noticing, which is like, that's a great feeling too.
Well, and the other thing is like it's easy to be like, okay, I haven't really, it's been slow, sort of thing. But it's been slow by the standard that we expect it to be. But it
100%. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like
Like it's slow by compared to extreme efforts in the past.
but it's
So
actually a
that's why
really
people
good
give up.
pace.
Yeah. But that's why without
Yeah.
you, I would have given up because it takes a long time to do
Yeah.
it right.
Yeah.
So,
Cuz I was just looking at it. You're down from when we had our talk 15, 16 pounds in 7 months, which people are like, "Oh,
yeah.
that doesn't feel
And,
like a lot."
and another one
And another one.
this week.
Look at
Yeah.
you. On a week where
Yeah.
you didn't work out, lo and
I know.
behold, oh my
I
goodness, you're
know.
like,
I think that like the me not being so stressed about it is like also allowing my body to like relax
well,
and probably inflammation, cortisol, and I don't know.
yeah, stress is a huge thing. This is like a stress
Yeah.
cycle. So I think this is where I want to end because you said something on our message that I really loved because you said that you're very much a consumer. You've been for a very long time a consumer of fitness
Oh yeah.
information, podcasts like this,
Oh, you
people
name
on
it.
social
Yeah.
media, things like that, right? You've been that. And so the mental freedom for you now, like the stress piece of it, can you talk a little bit about that piece of it now and
Yeah.
how that's shifted for you in terms of
Yeah.
a, a healthy mental place and what I would call like a truly fit and rich kind of life of not necessarily
Yeah.
consuming as
I
much.
think it's I think it's a couple I think it's two main things. One is like I'm able to be more present
Mm-hmm.
with the people I'm with. So prior to all of this, like I would do a lot of comparing and mental gymnastics in my
Mm-hmm.
head, like, God, what does she do? Or like, whatever. And these are my close friends, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I would be in my head, like spinning, just overly consumed with like, I want to be like that or whatever, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, like, I've noticed like this month at the social things, I've been able to just be more present and like
Mm-hmm.
locked in and focused on the person or the people that I'm with. And I'm also, I used to getting, I didn't realize this because I've always considered myself very social person, but like I get very anxious before like a social thing. And I've noticed that that has calmed. And it's not because I feel thinner. It's
Mm-hmm.
because mentally I'm not stressed about comparing like I'm good with what I'm doing. Like I don't care what other people are doing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not like comparing myself anymore. So that's like I don't care that you're skinnier or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like you learned the habits or whatever. I don't care before me, but like I'm very confident in what I'm doing now. So like I don't care. So I'm able to just be more present. So that's one. The other is yes, my whole life, and I think this is part of my like ADHD is I'm
Mm-hmm.
a very like topic and I like hyper focus on it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, 90% of the time that topic has to do with like weight loss or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, what earlier I started Orange Theory. I'm on my phone. Like my husband always thinks I'm on there, like looking at other people. And I'm like, technically I am, but it's like people I don't know. Like I'm looking at like hashtag Orange Theory weight loss results or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or like my CrossFit gym. I'm like, where are their like testimonials? And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I get so over consumed with topics. And a lot of the times it has to do with weight loss. So, one thing I told you was that like I've always been a big sports fan. And normally, so I work at Amazon and I had to go back to the office 3 days a week, which was a big, big shift in my life. And um in going through like podcasts and stuff, normally I would be trying to find like a podcast like this, and hear other people's success stories. And like, it's like I'm scrounging for that motivation in the
Mm-hmm.
past. And I've been like, I don't like, I'm good. I'm good with what I'm doing. Like, I don't need to listen to weight loss stuff anymore. I have these calls with Jeff every 2 weeks, and like, you're there if I have a question or like want to just tell you something, right? Like, it's a little
Mhm.
more frequently than 2 weeks, if I need
Mhm.
it. And like, I don't need to be like over consuming fitness and health content anymore. And so it's like, I started listening to like some Barstool podcasts again and like random, like, because I have a fantasy football team and like, and so or other just like pop culture, like I love
Mhm.
Bravo and like, like
Mhm.
those types of things that I've gotten away from. And now that I'm in this more of a better place of peace and not stress, it's like I can get back into like old, like things I'm interested in outside of this world. So
Mhm.
it's been, and that I didn't realize that really until I had to go back to the office and we were like talking
Mhm.
on one of our calls or whatever. But yeah, that's been a huge, like, it's kind of like the world has opened, like, what else do I want to like listen to? And
Yeah.
that now that fitness is, I don't need to be listening and watching like
Yeah.
Beachbody, whatever. So anyway, it feels great.
Oh, I love that because I think this is a great place to finish it because the idea of this is it's about freedom.
Yeah,
You know,
100%.
fitness is about freedom to do and enjoy the things that we want to do and enjoy, to be with our friends and family and be present with them, to do the things that we love, and fitness and nutrition and all of this is meant to support the life that we want to live and not be the focus of it. Like
Yeah,
the joke about it is like, oh, I work out so I can eat what I want, right? Like that's kind of a little bit of a joke of it, but
yeah,
it's kind of, yeah, like
yeah,
you kind of like you take care of yourself so that you can enjoy the things that you really want to enjoy. You take care of yourself so you can do the things with your kids that you want to do and
yeah,
not like be worried about, oh, I don't know if I can keep up with this, or like a friend wants to go for a hike. Am I going to be able to do it? Can I put on this thing of clothing or can I
yeah.
do that? Like I
I
want to be
think
able
in
to say yes.
one of your, I don't know, as a podcast or one of your posts or something, but yeah, there's something you say that's, yeah, it's like you don't want your life to become at the gym. Like
Hmm.
you go to the gym so that you can have a life outside of the gym or something like that,
Life
right?
is lived outside the gym.
Yeah, not at
Life
the gym.
life is lived outside the gym, so you train accordingly. Like I steal that phrase from um, a lot of my stuff is related to like a lot of parallels with finances. And
Yeah.
so a guy who I like to listen to, I like a lot of his phrases. His name's Ramit Sethi. If you've listened to the podcast
Oh,
before,
yeah.
you've heard me
Mhm.
talk about him from I Will Teach You to Be Rich. And one of his
Yeah.
phrases is because people can get too into the thing with their numbers, like, oh, how much is what's my investment, what's my return, what's my budget. And he's like,
Oh,
life is lived outside the spreadsheet.
yeah. Huh. Yeah.
Like, don't spend so much time analyzing your finances that you forget that the purpose of them is for you to be able to live the
Live your
life that
life.
you hope
Yeah.
to. Like in business, for me, I have a lot of coaches that I talk to, and a lot of them, like, you can get to a point where growing the business becomes the focus of your life. And for me, like, I love my job, I love what I do, I love working with clients, and there's fulfillment in that for me. But at the end of the day, you run a business to be able to provide for your family. But the end of
Yeah.
the I don't need it to be a 7-figure business
Right. Right.
because that would require me to work more and not be able to
Which takes
spend the
away from the
time.
whole point. Yeah,
The whole
exactly.
point is for me to be able to spend the time. And so it's like I'm going to work out so hard that I'm sore all the time and I'm walking around like a baby giraffe and I can't even, like, now I can't keep up with my
Pick your kids
kids,
up. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
which
totally.
is the whole point of the exercise. Like if we think about the whole point of all of this, it's I want to feel good, look good, be able to do the things that I want to do and just say yes to stuff
Yeah. Yep.
and have the mental capacity to say yes to the things that I love. And so that was one of the moments for me when you said that, where you were like, I'm listening to this, as much as that feels like a silly thing.
Yeah,
The
but it
fact
it's big.
it's so big because you're not consumed anymore with this.
How am I going to get there? Or like, this like trying to find the motivation or whatever. Like that's it's that yeah, that's out the window now.
Is
So I have the space to like
mm-hmm.
do, yeah, listen. I mean, in this case, it's listen to the podcast I want to listen to versus like find something that's going to hopefully give me some aha moment to get me to where I want to be, you know? So
100%. A
it's
hundred
amazing.
percent. It's you make choices so that then you have the bandwidth to do the things that you want to do. That's a nutrition example, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
eating relatively well most of the time so that I can then have pizza with my kids on Pizza Fridays, or have a margarita with my friends, or have, Christmas is in three
Yeah.
days and I'm going to have Pillsbury cinnamon rolls on Christmas morning, and I'm going to have a good amount of them. Like, those things are real good. But I want to be able to say yes to that and not be worried about it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and not feel
That was
guilty
another
about it
thing with
afterward.
when I, yeah, like all the things I tried as I think we talked about this. Like I always struggled with being the person that had to say no because I'm on some kick.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
became that person to my friends. Oh,
Yeah.
Ashley's on another kick again. Like
Yeah.
nobody else believed that I was gonna, So this time it's different too. Yeah.
Well, and that starts to feel like crap too. When
Awful. Yeah.
Because not only do you not have credibility with yourself, you don't have credibility with anybody else. And we have these
Yeah.
experiences where, like, and I had this with business, and I'll tell this story. I think I've told it before, but like when I had mentorships in my business, and I had spent thousands of dollars on a couple of them, and like kind of did it and then didn't quite stick with it. And so by the time I went to like a third one, and I was like, hey, I think my wife was like, listen, I want to believe in you, but like, what's different about this? Like, you've spent money on this before. Like, why is this one different? Because and it wasn't malicious, but
No.
I had shown her that I'm not going to be able, and it's very much the same thing with fitness. Like, I've done all this before. What's going to be different about this time? And that feels like crap to try to convince
Yeah.
somebody that what you're
Yeah.
doing this time is different.
Which is funny. We kind of opened with that with my husband,
Yeah.
where he's like, stop being so extreme. It was those conversations like, really? Another
Yeah.
thing, right? And so he's, and now it feels good to people are noticing,
Mm-hmm.
there's a shift, and I'm not doing anything crazy. It's like
Mm-hmm.
slow and steady, and like to have my husband and friends be proud of me is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. And your kids
and
be
it's
proud of
funny
you.
because they're all proud of me for things that have nothing to do with like physical weight loss.
Yes, they're proud of you because they see the mental shift, right? Like the things that
Yeah.
they said, like the the physical is a byproduct of the work that you're doing. You're in charge of the process, not necessarily the outcome. And the outcome is, it's going to come if you continue to do this, and it has, and it's going to continue to.
Yeah. Sorry, my
And
dog's barking
no, it's
outside, so I
I
keep
wasn't sure
muting
if it was your
myself.
dog or my dog or my neighbor's
It's
dog,
mine.
but
And I keep
um,
muting myself. I'm like, I'm on a
no,
podcast.
like, listen, it was the
Mommy's
professional
very
pod.
important.
A big deal.
It's a
That's
big
what
deal.
Amy always says.
We're
Amy, who's
going
the one.
viral. It's
It's
fine.
what Amy says. Oh, my other host. She's like, guys, I'm an influencer now. I'm like, I think you overestimate. But hopefully, so people who've listened to this point, I hope that you've found a lot of value here. I think that this has been a lot of fun. Ash, any kind of last? It's okay if you don't have it. Any kind of last thoughts or things that you want to say, share, encourage people with, anything like that?
Um, I know this, you said this in the beginning, like that this wasn't supposed to be, this was my story and not about like, a sales pitch for you. But like, I would just say that I would never have had all these mental shifts and everything without having taken kind of a leap of faith to have a coach. There was, even in working with you a million times, where I wanted to quit just like I have in the past. And I don't do the weekly check-in or whatever, but it's like I've always showed up for the call.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, even we've had to reschedule some of those, but
Mm-hmm.
I always show up for the call. And especially now I'm not there, but in the beginning I was actually I would get anxious about the call because I would be nervous that I was going to get in trouble because I didn't
Mm-hmm.
like hit my 3 strength trainings, or I didn't hit my steps, or I didn't log all my food or whatever it was, that I thought I was going to like get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And every single time we connected, it was a huge weight off. And I'm just so glad that I did this.
Mhm.
So I 10 out of 10 recommend having Jeff as your coach. And if nothing else, just follow him and he'll
Mhm.
bother you, and then he'll make you have a consultation call, and then you won't be able to say no.
I
I'm
didn't
just kidding.
make you do anything, but well, I
No,
appreciate that very
no, but
much.
I was in a place where I needed it. I was,
Yeah.
so gosh, this dog, sorry.
Mm.
But I just without the coach, I would not have had all these shifts. And like I said, like I know I'm going to get to the physical part eventually, but like I'm just and for anybody that's already a client of Jeff's, continuing on those calls, you might not think you need it, but like again, I don't think I would have got to this mental spot
Mhm.
if I just stopped at the 3 months. So
Well, I appreciate that. It's been a it's I appreciate you trusting me. Like it's one of the things that it's a humbling thing, I think, to be a coach, to like have somebody trust you and be as vulnerable and open as you kind of need to be. Like, we joke about like you kind of like we've had some tears, and but like it's
yeah,
hard work that we're doing, because you said like I'm 30, like 13 years of doing it a certain way. Like it doesn't get undone in, or 35 years of doing it a certain way, like and thinking a certain way, that doesn't get undone in 3 months oftentimes. And so we're doing hard work here, but you can listen to other podcasts that I've done about sport, but I just recorded this one this morning with Amy about the value of support. And I think that coaching it's one of the things that's been the game changer for me in my business and even in fitness. I think that whether it's me or somebody else, like find somebody who can support you. But the thing that I said to you is about like these check-ins is, I'm not your kindergarten teacher. I'm not going to like berate you. And if you
yeah,
have a coach that's doing that, like the idea of the personal trainer at the beginning, that's just there to kind of kick your butt, like there's some value in the hard piece of it, and I haven't shied away from us having hard conversations, necessarily, and being a little bit of like, all right, buckle up, buttercup, we got some work to do here.
yeah,
But at the
yeah,
same time, a quality coach, and I continue to try to become better and better at this, and I know plenty of others in the industry who are very good at this. But the mark of a good coach, and or anybody in your life who is going to be helpful in this, is and I thought of this morning on my episode with Amy, but a quote from Ted Lasso, like the famous scene from Ted Lasso with the darts: "Be curious, not judgmental." That's what
yeah,
that's what good support looks like. So if you're in this journey, or you know somebody who's in this journey, like ask questions without an expectation of what the answer is going to be. And I think that's what we've always done. Is like, okay, well, if it hasn't happened, why hasn't it happened? And what can we do to set you up for success in the future? And that's the question that you always want to ask yourself. Is not like, oh, I have to do this or not do this. It's, if this isn't happening or it is happening, like, why is it or why isn't it? Like, what worked well, what didn't work well? And this is what we do in every other area of our life, right? We do it in our work, we do it in our businesses, whatever it is. But ask these questions, because and it's sometimes helpful to have somebody on the outside ask them for you, just to kind of think it through. So I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you trusting me to be your coach. It is one of the great honors of my life to have people like, I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that, to have people trust me to kind of walk through this with them. And it's one of the coolest things in the world for me to see like how dramatically different the conversations we have are as this
yeah.
goes on.
I tell you, like every time we talk, I'm like thankful for you. I'm grateful for you.
Mm,
You know, because it's been, I mean, life changing,
yeah, yeah.
So I couldn't be more glad that I took the leap of faith and that I continued on after the 3 months. And I'm just really grateful. The accountability, I think the accountability and the conversations, and it's just, without it, I would never be where I am. So I'm super
Mm.
grateful.
Well, and the mark for you is you did it even when you were scared, and you did it even though you were afraid you were going to fail, because you'd only ever experienced that, and that fear doesn't go away. Like we never do things in the absence of fear. We have to.
100%. Yeah.
You got to do it scared. You got to feel the fear and do it anyway. Um, and that's what causes us to grow. Like that's how we get to the next stage in our development. So thanks to Ash for coming on. If you want to connect with her, to maybe hear a little bit more, send me a message, and I can maybe connect the two of you. I'm not going to necessarily put her out on the whole world for everybody to see, but if you want to connect with her and maybe chat a little bit more with her and hear more of her story, I'm sure she'd be up for chatting with you. But um,
My
thanks so much
dog
for coming
too.
on. Yeah, and
He
your
likes to
dog wants to talk too. Yeah.
chat.
I don't think it's
Sorry.
as loud as you think it is. Maybe it is,
Okay.
but
For me, I'm like, well, I can see the little like noise thing go up
noise
every
bark
time.
every time. Yeah,
So I've
it's
been
it's
muting
background
myself.
noise.
But
It's just kind of how it goes. It's
yeah, I
life.
mean,
We're
if
living life
anybody,
here. Well,
yeah,
I
this
would
is life. It's
I wouldn't have
Christmas. It's
been
the
I wouldn't have
holiday.
been surprised if there was a kid crying in the background. Like that's just kind of how
Right.
it goes.
No, kids are at daycare. We're good.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
yeah,
Well,
no, if anybody wants to like connect, just let me know.
sweet. All right. Thank you,
Thanks, guys.
Ash, and thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Bye. Thank you.